pitching investors who like what you do, are predisposed to liking where you're at, what you do, what you're building, the category you're in, and the stage you're at, and the check size you're looking for, or you are fighting a losing battle. The amount of pitches I get, if you go and read my bio or you listen to any interview with me, I'll tell you the couple of things I don't like, and the amount of people that pitch me the things I don't like or send me a deck and they're like shocked when my feedback is like, I don't like that. They're kind of like, let me explain why you need to like it. I'm like, but why start there? There are thousands of us. There are a lot of investors out there. Like, start with the people that like what you're doing, the stage you're at. If you're pitching me $100 million raise, I'm not your investor. And if you're pitching me, I'm raising $10,000 to hire a designer, I'm also not your investor. Like, that's not the stage I'm at. So for us, we're in that range I said, but you can do your research, either signal.nfx or Crunchbase, or there's a lot of places to find it, but that's how you can know more about what I do and also every other VC that's out there. If you are gonna email me, feel free to ask the question, like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Does this seem of interest to you? I know it may not be clearly in your thesis, but would you be open to chatting? And hopefully, we'll be transparent and come back to you and say, you know, yes or no, this is interesting. As I said in my improv comment, what I hate is then getting into like an email argument battle with you about why I'm wrong about this thing. It's not that I don't want to be told I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. I hear it all the time. But again, my point being, if I say like this is not a category for me, or a recent example is I have a conflict in my portfolio. I have another company that I've invested in. I talked to that founder. They say it's a conflict. What you're doing is a conflict. I hear you. Everyone thinks they're a unique snowflake. But if I'm like, this founder that I sit on the board of their company says it would be uncomfortable for them if I invested in your company, so therefore it's a conflict. You're very, very, very unlikely to convince me that what you're doing is not a conflict and that I should tell the other person to go F themselves. Try and find the warm connections if you can. If you can't, send cold emails. But this is a numbers game. Like, send as many of those notes as you can. The only thing I'll tell you is pay attention to detail. Like, don't email every partner at the same firm, the same email. We all talk. We all share a CRM. We will see it, and it's really frustrating. Like, Jesse, I think you're the perfect partner for me. It's amazing because you did X, Y, and Z. And Jeff and Dorothy, I think you're the perfect partner for me because it's amazing because you did X. Like, we see it, we know it. So, you know, pick one partner at a firm that you really think is great, but send all 200. Like, frankly, send all 200. Stage them out a little, give yourself a chance. Maybe you get a massive negative reaction to something in the deck, and then you can hit pause and A/B test and things. But it's a numbers game. Like, you need to pitch as many people as you can. All right, first off, until somebody has sent you a term sheet or has like written terms, they don't have to send you a term sheet. They can send you an email that says, I'd like to invest $1.5 million at a $15 million cap, whatever. Until they've done that and they've said those words and they put a dollar amount in a price, like, don't consider them in. So you have multiple offers. I see this all the time with founders that are pitching. They're like, I get all these people that are excited, they're interested, they want to invest, whatever, and you kind of talk to them 30 days later, 60 days later, it still hasn't happened. You're kind of like, yeah, I know they said they wanted to invest, but until they really get to that point of making an offer, they don't. Now let's assume you have 3 or 4 or many people that have said that. They're ready. They want to invest X amount of dollars at Y cap, whatever that is, or post money. The truth is, like, what's the term? But it ain't over till it's over. You know, and so your best bet is to get all of those offers in front of you at the same time. And so one thing I noted earlier was this process of taking the 200 that you reach out to. One of the things you have to be mindful of is timeliness. So you only have a certain amount of time to sort of go through the fundraising process. Like, as you get to 30, 60, 90 days out, it starts to feel like this isn't coming together. The momentum in the fundraising process slows, and it's a negative signal to us as investors. Like, maybe there's something wrong here. Maybe there's something wrong with the founder and how they're operating, the business, the category, and we'll start to ask more questions. So one of the things you want to do is try and start all of your conversations as close to the same time as possible, and to encourage your investors as you're talking to them to stick to your timeline, not to ours. Now, you can't always force it, but the best way to do it is to kind of, as soon as one person says, I'm interested, I want to do $1 million in this round, you're going back to everybody else that you feel as though has been moving, there's been momentum, there's been positive signals. You're going to all of them and saying, look, I've gotten my first offer, it's real, like, don't lie about it. Again, we talk as an industry, so like, If you ever say a name of another investor is interested in your company, I am 100% texting them when we're done to be like, hey, what do you think? And if they go, who the hell is that? I'm probably not investing. And so, but indicate that and be upfront, be transparent. I have an offer. I'm trying to drive towards final decisions around composition in 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever you feel is appropriate. It's not a great idea unless you're in a really hot round to put everybody on a very short time window. There are times when you would say, look, I need a decision tomorrow. Like I'm there, I need it. You got to give people a little bit of space. There is a process that we go through, but giving people a week is not crazy, or even 2 weeks is at the max. But you need to indicate that as a founder. If I don't know that, there's not going to be any pressure to set a timeline on this. And being in the business of optionality, I'd rather wait and see what happens. There's like 3 terms you should actually care about. The first is how much money they're investing. You need a lead to set the tone and to set the price. When I say you need a lead, I don't mean that you must have that. It will help you in the momentum to have investors taking more than 50% of the raise that you're doing to set terms. It will move the needle for everybody else who's sort of like waiting to see if somebody's going to step up. So one is the dollar amount they're investing. The second is the price. And this sounds simple, but this goes back to dilution. At the pre-seed and the seed stage, your price is almost always set in the range that I told you. It's set by the amount of dollars you're raising. You're raising $1 million on 10, you're raising $2 million on 15, you're raising $3 million on 20. You're like somewhere in here, you're always gonna be roughly in the same dilution range I was talking about. And so those 2 terms are the major ones. The only other one that you really care about at this stage is probably board composition. As I said in the beginning, I am a fan, whenever we do a seed raise or a seed investment, we almost always leave it as a founder control board. So if you're a solo founder, I'll say, I'll take a board seat as a preferred, you'll keep 2 board seats as common. So you'll win the vote, like that's not the problem. But having a board gets you started early in practicing something that's gonna matter so much. Quarterly reporting, giving yourself a deadline to get all your shit together, like you gotta get your numbers together, your data. You should do this for yourself, you should do it for your team, quarterly goal setting. Having a board is gonna set some of that in motion. Having good cleanliness around equity grants, you want somebody around the table who helps you decide how much to give out. So board composition would be the other term that I would think about at this stage. You don't want somebody to say like, we control everything. That would be a bad deal for you, like the investor saying we have majority control. Preferred shareholders, by the way, no matter what, get certain controls. So like you're not, like that's not what I'm talking about, but sort of underneath all of that is just good hygiene. And so those are the terms that matter most at the pre-seed and the seed. Probably everybody in this room receives AI generated marketing spam a lot. A lot of it you can just tell that it's junk. Like if you don't give AI enough direction, it's pretty clear that it's sort of not personalized. Number one, we're using tools on our side too, so like don't think you're like outsmarting us in this way. Like you're like, look, I use this to generate it. I also have things that are filtering. So like we're tracking through this. This goes back to my comment earlier. One of the best things you can do is get a warm introduction from somebody that knows me, from somebody I trust. It could be a founder in my portfolio. It could be an investor I've co-invested with. It could be just a friend that I trust that I've worked with before. I have, it went red. I have a lot of connections on LinkedIn, and so you can see it there, or look on Twitter or Instagram. So I do think warm intros matter. It's not the only way to get to us. But the second thing I'll say is just use those tools to do better. Like use them to get more information about me. I don't care if you email 1,000 people. Like that doesn't, I said this earlier, it does not bother me. In fact, I would prefer that you used AI to make your message to me more compelling, better, more interesting to read. So use AI to read every blog post I've ever written or post on LinkedIn, and use it to read or to listen to all my interviews. And then send me a note that's like, hey, I heard you say these 7 things. I'm doing these 7 things. Can we chat? Like that will go a long way with me. So it's hard, like in this day and age, I'm not gonna argue like using AI. It's a great tool, but like you do need to instruct it to be really clear. Be mindful of this. If the other investor could, would, or should invest in your company, and they're introing you to me and they're not investing in your company, that's probably a negative signal. So, again, this goes back to doing your research, but I'm thinking about if another investor invests in developer platforms and AI and infrastructure at the pre-seed, and you're a developer platform building with AI at the pre-seed, and they're like, hey, I met this founder, not for me, but might be for you, that's probably a negative signal. I will likely, however, still take the meeting because I trust that most of my co-investors out there feel the same pain that I do, and they would not send it along if they didn't have some reason to send it. I turn it down all the time. People that ask me to introduce them to other investors, I'm like, it's not a fit for them. I'm not gonna make the intro. So I just say be mindful of that, so do your research ahead of time. Best introduction is from a founder in my portfolio who knows you or knows or uses your business or product. Like, that is by far the best introduction to get. One of the things I recommend is if you ever get the chance and you haven't done it, take an improv class. Almost everything you do with an investor is gonna be improv. Like, our job is to find all the reasons to say no. I see thousands of pitch decks a year, and I back like 3 or 4 companies. So your odds are pretty low getting to the bottom of the funnel. And so much of that comes down to this back and forth. You're gonna tell 30 seconds of your story, 60 seconds, and I'm gonna jump in and be like, why? Why does that part of your story, that personal story about your life and living in Section 8 housing, why does it matter? Like, I'm gonna ask you. And if it becomes combative, if you can't sort of keep it going, what winds up happening is and this is just a human thing, you kind of lose interest, right? Like, I don't wanna be like hitting a brick wall each time. I don't want you to be sort of arguing with me constantly. I wanna be learning, I wanna be engaging. And so improv, in addition to basic storytelling, which you definitely should do, also take an improv class.